GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers. Navigating the insidious illness of Alzheimer's is something nobody asks for. The disease sneaks up on you and your loved one, and it feels like you've been sucker punched in the gut. Then you ask, where do we turn for help? Who do we call? What do we do? These questions and more are what we hope to answer and give you some direction and hope. Now let's join our host, Jeff Edwards.
Greetings and welcome. This is GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, episode 75, or It's Still Not a Sexy Podcast. How's everybody doing this week? And I hope it was a good one for you and not too stressful. Let's see. Well, I attended my men's caregivers meeting where we learned about lawyers, laws, death, grief, and guilt. Whew. I know it sounds depressing, but it's really not. It's education. It's all about things a caregiver needs to know about. So why is it still not a sexy podcast? Well, because we had a lot of positive feedback from listeners who agreed with us. It's not a sexy topic, but a very, very important one with lots of information. Now, today we will be talking with Dr. William Justiz of Aqualane Critical Research. Now, here's a doctor who knows his stuff. As much as I research things about Alzheimer's, and I do it all the time, there were so many things Dr. Justiz shared, I was taking notes as we talk. You will learn things today you probably didn't know. We would like to welcome Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care, a nationally award-winning company. They are our first sponsor on GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, and there is also a link for them on our website, gutpunched.com. Heart, Body, and Mind Home Care. Service is their passion. Excellence is their promise. Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's care specialist. You can find them on the web at hbmhomecare.com. And they're really great people. This wouldn't be GutPunched if we didn't go over our tenets or rules. The tenets we follow at GutPunched, Alzheimer's, and Caregivers are simple. Number one, you must take care of yourself because if something happens to you, who is going to take care of your loved one? Number two, you can't do it alone. You need help. Find good caregiver groups or network with friends or relatives. Number three, make a list of people, friends, relatives, co-workers who have offered to help you in time of need. And then make a list of things you need done but can't do yourself because caregiving duties are overwhelming. And then use the lists. Start at the top and keep going till you get what you need done. You'll find it very, very helpful. Number four, create a help signal. Identify a cue or phrase to confirm your loved one is comfortable with receiving help. Now, something your loved one can remember. Now, this is for when you have caregivers outside of family helping with caregiver duties. It will help put them at ease. Number five, caregiving. Love it or hate it. It will be your life till it's not. Give it your all. If you like what you hear, subscribe to the podcast. Please leave us a 5-star review and help us grow and share this podcast with others who have someone who has a family member or friends who are dealing with a loved one who has Alzheimer's or any type of dementia, that you would let them know about this podcast. They may need the information and resources. There is help and hope out there for everyone. You just must know where and how to find it, and that's why we're here. Are you ready?
We'll be right back to GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Repeat after me. Apple, table, penny.
Apple, red.
When you tell people he has Alzheimer's, but he's in a clinical study, it's
not so hopeless.
Yeah.
Maybe. You know, it's like I hope we can just hang in there and maybe they'll find something, you know.
Ask me again.
What season is it?
It's when all the leaves down and
I know it's there, but I can't get it.
Yeah.
And it just kills me.
I remember watching Dad interact with the kids and thinking, geez, in 5-6 years, will he even know who they are? 1 in 10 Americans over 65 has Alzheimer's disease. Learn more today at brightfocus.org.
This is GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, where we explore the people, ideas, and innovations shaping our world today. I'm your host, Jeff Edwards, and we're glad you're here. Today's episode takes us inside the world of clinical research, and more specifically, the remarkable work being done right here in Naples, Florida at Aqualane Clinical Research. I had the pleasure of visiting their facility this past August, and let me tell you, I was truly impressed. The clinic is absolutely pristine, bright, spotless, and inviting. But what really stood out to me were the employees. The staff, every one of them, was friendly, professional, and clearly passionate about the work they do. It was clear from the moment I walked in that this is a team that deeply cares about their patients and the progress of science. While I was there, I got to meet Dr. Justiz, the co-founder and medical director of Aqualane. He was, of course, very busy. He usually is. But he still took a moment to greet me, and that alone said a lot. Why is Dr. Justiz always so busy? Well, listen to this. Since 1999, Dr. Justiz has been practicing in Naples and leading the charge in neurological research. He co-founded what would become Aqualane Clinical Research, an organization focused on advancing treatments through innovative clinical trials. With over 20 years of experience, he's not only at the forefront of science, he's deeply committed to giving back. For more than 2 decades, he's offered low-cost or free services to individuals with epilepsy through Epilepsy Services of Southwest Florida. And since 2015, he's also led a free monthly educational lecture series on Alzheimer's disease in partnership with the Alzheimer Support Network. Now, I've watched a few of those lectures myself. He's an incredibly engaging speaker, full of energy and passion. And today, we're lucky to have him here with us on the phone. Good afternoon, Dr. Justiz. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. I know your schedule's packed, so we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time as well.
So let's start from the beginning. When you were a young man, what first inspired you to go into the neurological research?
Well, it's a bit weird. When I first started looking at different fields I wanted to go into, I thought neurology was the field that had the poorest understanding, and I thought it had the greatest potential for growth. So I went into that field, did my training, came out of training, and when I got into private practice, I felt that I was losing my edge after several years. And my business partner and I, Matthew Baker, we sat down and we thought, well, how do we stay sharp? Other than going to conferences and reading articles, it was actually doing the cutting-edge research and going to the conferences and at times presenting the information to people about what's happening in the field. And we felt that that was the best way to do it.
And now, was there a specific moment when you knew when you had made the right decision? You know, sometimes you second-guess yourself, but when did you figure that out?
There's always second-guessing. You always question yourself. You always ask, are you doing the right thing? Are we making progress? The first time you go to a meeting and they present all the data at the meeting and they say, by the way, the Food and Drug Administration has now approved this drug for this terrible disease, you know you're doing the right thing. You're part of the solution to the problem.
That's interesting. Now, how did the Aqualane Clinical Research come together? Was it a smooth process or were there significant challenges along the way? I would imagine there would be, but tell us that story.
No, actually, it fits and starts, as they say. So Dr. Baker and I decided in 2005 to go ahead and start this little research business on the side of our clinical practice. And it was kind of stumbling along. We would get clinical trials. Sometimes we wouldn't have clinical trials, and we kept trying to build a reputation of that we were doing solid research. In 2020, we ran into our business partner, Ms. Kelly Calistri. She said, you're doing the science perfect. You guys are great at it, but your business skills, they leave something to be desired, and you need help. And she stepped in, and it's really changed since she's stepped in and told us, look, this is how you really do it. And she's part of the ownership of the business as well at this time.
It's funny how you do what you do, but then there's other things you have to learn. And a lot of times you don't have time to learn what you need to do. So that's a good thing you had somebody that could help you along the way.
Absolutely. Doctors are terrible business people.
But you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So for our listeners who may not be familiar with how clinical trials work, can you walk us through the process?
Absolutely. So every medication you've ever taken, Tylenol, antibiotic, anything you've taken, whether prescription or over the counter, has gone through this process. And what happens is, at some point along the way, some scientist says, we have this disease state, and we think that if you do X, Y, Z to this disease state, it'll get better. For example, penicillin. So you have an infection. Almost 100 years ago now, they decided, okay, look, if you give people penicillin for disease state, for infections, you can help them. A drug company will come along and say, well, wait a minute, we have a medication that might help with that particular aspect of that disease state. But the problem is that the drug company doesn't have a connection to local communities. Mm-hmm. They're this rather large organization, and they don't have a whole lot of reach down to the grassroots level. And that's when they contact people like myself, and they say, well, we have this compound, and we think this compound is going to help, let's say, Alzheimer's disease. So Dr. Baker and I will sit down, and we'll look at their data, we'll look at their protocol. Number one, does the data look realistic? Does it look like this drug even has a chance of helping? If it does, okay, let's look at the protocol. Does the protocol look legitimate as well? And if we agree, yes, on both counts, then we agree to run the clinical trial. So the drug company tells us, okay, go ahead and run the clinical trial. Here's the experimental medication. And we start talking to the community and saying, would you like to participate? We're very poor salespeople, to be honest with you, but enough people listen to us and they have enough of these terrible diseases out there that still need help, where a few people will say, yes, I'd like to participate and I'd like to receive this experimental medication. We do it, we run the protocol, and then we turn all the data back over to the drug company, because they have not just my site running their protocol, they have 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe at times 100 different sites across the planet, not just Florida, not just the southeastern United States, but across the planet. They take all of this data, they put it together, and now they say, so the people who got the drug, yes, they did better. And the people who didn't get the drug, they did as expected. They then take that data to the Food and Drug Administration. The FDA then looks at it with a very critical eye and decides, okay, this drug is going to help the public. Yes, we give you the green light. You can now sell it to the American public.
Gotcha. Now, what's the difference between phase 3, phase 2, and phase 1?
Phase 1 is basically looking at how safe the drug is in human population. So that's the first time the drug is given to humans. Most drug companies nowadays, however, aren't just looking if it's safe, but they're also looking at the disease state to see, are they beginning to see, there's some improvement in the disease state. Phase 2 is supposed to be a dose range finding for the drug, and then phase 3 is proof of concept, where they're saying, look, we know the dose, we have a good idea of the duration, and now we're going to get a lot of people, we're going to put them on this drug, and we're going to see if the data shows that the people who get the drug do better.
Typically, how long is each phase?
Phase 1 studies can be very brief, days or weeks, and phase 3 trials can be very long, years. We have one phase 3 clinical trial that we've been running since COVID.
That is a long time, yeah. Shifting the gears just a little bit, what are the core goals of Aqualane, and what are you hoping to achieve?
Advancing the science. That is really our core goal. Like I told you before, neurology is a primitive field. We don't have very good medications. We do the best we can with what we have, but we want better. We want better for our people. We want better for our families. We want better for everybody. And the idea is if we can advance the science, maybe Alzheimer's disease will be consigned to the history books. Now that would be fantastic.
Yes, it would. No doubt about it. Unfortunately, right now, it seems to be growing, at least the amount of people that are being afflicted with it. I know they're making some inroads. And for those wondering, do patients get paid to participate in these trials?
Absolutely. The way it's set up is that the drug company covers the cost of running the clinical trial. So everything that we do within the confines of the clinical trial, such as blood work, memory testing, MRIs, PET scans, that's all covered by the drug company. The patient never has to whip out their Medicare card. They never have to pull out their credit card. Nothing. And as a matter of fact, every time we agree to do a clinical trial, we ask the drug company to give us an extra little budget to pay the patients and the caregivers that come in with the patient. We call it gas money, but you'd have to have a really big vehicle for that to be the amount of gas money you need.
I get it. It's because the caregivers are taking care of the individual and they've got to do everything. Trust me, I get that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. They're part of the equation.
Yeah. If you could highlight just 3 things, let's do 3, that make Aqualane special, what would they be?
Number 1 is the care that we give the patient. It's patient-centric, patient-first care. It's from the moment they walk into our facility to the moment they leave. We are on them. We are trying to make them comfortable. We realize that this is an uncomfortable process. Nobody likes being scrutinized, but we try to make it as best as possible. The second thing is the team. The folks that we have working over here are just top shelf. They are A+. They really go above and beyond to understand the science, to understand the needs of the patient. So my team over here is great. And number 3, I would say, is my business partners. Dr. Matthew Baker and Ms. Kelly Calistri, they are amazing people to work with. I am fortunate.
That's a good thing. I spent some time on your website, went a little deeper, and I watched the videos and Dr. Baker and then your other partner, Kelly Calistri. It was good because it informed. Now I'd like to shift gears a little bit and talk about your community involvement, because that's something you're known for just as much as your research is. You've been hosting a monthly Alzheimer's education series through Alzheimer's Support Network since 2015.
Correct.
Who chooses the topics for those lectures? Yourself, or is there a committee that says, well, we really like to have you talk about this or that?
Actually, there is a committee. It's my audience.
Good answer. Good answer.
Typically, we'll sit down with the audience and we'll say, okay, what do you guys want to hear about? Oh, we want to hear about how to make the diagnosis. Great. Okay, I'll do a lecture on that. We want to hear about, the prognosis, treatment options, experimental treatment options, variants of Alzheimer's, and on and on and on. We'll come up with a list of about 22 different lectures. And those are actually posted on the Alzheimer's Support Network website right now. There's 25 of my lectures posted. Mm-hmm. And the lecture cycle is over 2 years. So it's once a month over 2 years. And at the end of the lecture cycle, we'll say, okay, which lectures do we get rid of? All right, which ones are we going to consign to the bin of history? And which one should we bring in? And again, we'll talk about it again. This is a very living thing. It's organic. And the audience tells me what they want to hear.
That's a good way to do it. I was curious about that, but I didn't want to assume.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And I've watched some of your videos, too. I found it really interesting. A lot of information. With your vast knowledge of Alzheimer's and with all the ongoing global research, what do you see for the future of Alzheimer's treatment? Is there a cure on the horizon, you think?
I don't know. I still think the science is rather primitive, and it depends on how much of a shoulder we're going to be able to put behind this boulder and push it up that hill. If you look at cancer research in the 1970s was very primitive.
Right.
And my last patient that I saw before I came into this interview, he was telling me about a close friend who had stage 4 melanoma 6 years ago. I'll be honest with you, stage 4 melanoma, when I was working at the University of Texas in Houston and MD Anderson Cancer Center, stage 4 melanoma was a death sentence. I mean, that was it. You were done. Mm-hmm. And now this guy's telling me about one of his close friends is out playing tennis. And that's what I'm hoping for, is that we can come up, at least in my lifetime, with something that puts the brakes on, for me, what is the most terrible neurologic disease out there. For me, it's Alzheimer's. And if we can come up with that would be fantastic in my lifetime.
I wonder, too.
Yeah.
You look at it and say, okay, this is what we have and this is how we deal with it.
Yeah. If you look at where we are and where we need to be, that's a rather far journey. Maybe we get lucky. Mm-hmm. Maybe tomorrow we make an amazing discovery like penicillin, and poof, we've got the cure.
Yeah.
That would be beautiful.
Yeah. And I read a lot of the articles that come out about, well, they're trying this and they're trying that. And it's good, but it takes a long time to come to fruition from the time somebody has an idea and they try. I say, well, this worked on mice, so now we have to take it to the next level.
Absolutely. And money.
That was in the back of my head, is that how did a lot of researchers get money other than doing the testing like you are?
So it depends on what level of research you're talking about. So if you're talking about the very basic biomedical science, where we have very intelligent people just trying to figure out, how does this work? because that's the first and most important question. Okay, wait a minute. How does Alzheimer's work? Why does this person have Alzheimer's but their spouse doesn't? And that's a very, very important question, because if you can figure out the steps of how Alzheimer's develops, maybe you can figure out a way to really gum up the works for Alzheimer's and just stop it in its tracks.
Yeah.
And so those guys who do the basic benchtop research, those are typically supported by universities, which is actually supported by you and I.
Yeah, okay.
It's supported by us. It's supported with our tax dollars in this country. Outside of this country, I don't know. I don't know how they do it in Italy or England. I would assume the same way, but I don't know.
I'm going to skip over to question 13 and then go back to 12, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Because we're talking about things happening that Dr. Ali Rohasi there was a segment on 60 Minutes earlier this year, the brain surgeon who focused ultrasound to open a blood-brain barrier. And then he called it the $1 million halo. And I have watched it a number of times and talked to people about it. Is this really working? But the results that they showed at the end of the video is that of the 3 patients, one person had all the amyloid plaque cleared from his brain. The second person had about 50%. The third person had about maybe 25%. The only issue was the person who they cleared 100% didn't remember anything, and they had to reprogram him, basically. So you go, okay, well, if they can do that, maybe that's the way to do it. Go in and put the drug exactly where it's supposed to go. Because I know, like, the case that I looked at was my wife. She started with Leqembi. After her 3rd infusion, we found out that she's the 1% that can't take that medicine. But it's one of those things you go, okay, you can try something. And we know there was a risk. All the testing and everything said, well, she looks like she should be able to do it. We don't know why she reacted that way. Now I'm on the search for something new. We'll never get to the $1 million halo because that was the first time they did it. That's going to take a while for it to roll out so they can figure out how to do it simpler and less costly. There's just a lot of things out there you try. Well, what about this?
Yep.
There's the treatment, some of the drugs like Kisunla and then the Leqembi. Are there any new medications or developments you find promising that you've come across?
I suspect that the next group of medications that will be seriously considered by the Food and Drug Administration are the anti-tau agents. We completed a clinical trial closing in on a year ago now, where they came very close with that medication to showing that they provided benefit. And we are actually running 3 different anti-tau clinical trials right now from 3 different companies. And my hope is that there's so much interest and there's so much science and there's so many smart people that somebody's going to come up with the right recipe, for lack of a better term. And that's going to be the next drug that we have, and we can combine it with these first group that came through, the Leqembi and the Kisunla. If we can combine it with anti-tau agents, I think that's a big step. As far as these other ideas that are out there, ultrasound technique and all these other things, I think the more options we have, the more avenues we look at, the better. Because we don't know where the next big discovery is coming from. Nobody does. That's like going to the horse track and trying to bet on the right horse. It's a guess.
Yeah.
So bet on all the horses then. Let's go. One of the horses has to win the race, right? So let's do them all. Well, I like the idea of betting on all the horses. That way we win for sure.
Exactly.
And so, if this doctor that you mentioned wants to try ultrasound, great. What about transcranial magnetic stimulation? Sure. What about just let the imagination run wild and let's see what's a blind alley and let's see what's successful.
One of the things that sticks in my brain that I read recently was about the nasal spray. They're testing this nasal spray of using one of these existing drugs to get it up to the brain.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works. So it's an insidious disease. There's no 2 ways about it. And all you can do is what we can do.
Correct.
There are a couple authors, doctors, who have come up with different protocols. Say if you change this, take these vitamins, cut your diet, do all these things that would help either slow it down or maybe even change. It sounds great. My personal feeling is I'll try anything. Do things like that actually help?
So if you look at most of these protocols that are being touted right now, most of them are at their core, fairly straightforward. So it's get your exercise and eat healthy. And we just had some data published last July 2025, called the Pointer Study. The Pointer Study is really the best data that we have right now for looking at exactly those factors. So diet, exercise, lifestyle changes, things that every person can do. And I don't think you have to get overly complex. I don't think you have to get overly nuanced with it. Look, Mediterranean diet. We know that saturated fats are really big. We know that these super high carbohydrate diets are really not very good for you. Eat a nice balanced diet. Fruits, vegetables, fish, chicken. Get your exercise every day. Don't sit on the sofa. Get up. Let's go for a walk, or go for a swim, or go hop on a stationary bike, something for at least 30 minutes every day, bare minimum. If every American did that, everybody did it every day, you'd see the rates of Alzheimer's disease and other diseases, like the big killers, the big three,
right?
Heart attack, stroke, and cancer, they would all go down. I don't think that these things are the cure, but I think, boy, they'll really help.
I like that thought.
What I try to explain to all my people is, look, at the end of the day, all of us know what the last page of our book reads.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then he died. Oh, okay. So I know the last page.
Yeah.
So the question is what are you going to do between now and the last page of the book to have fun, to enjoy yourself, to make the world maybe just a little better place? And that's really the hard question.
Yeah. But it's a good way to look at it and a good way to approach it. What do you have to lose?
Yeah, because you know what? I know the last page of everybody's book.
But people don't look at it that way. And as a caregiver, sometimes you get stuck in a rut. That's why I continue to go to caregiver meetings, because I learn things from people who are at a different level than I've been. Sometimes it's scary, and sometimes it's actually funny. But you go, okay, you did this. Let me try this. I didn't know about that. And it's a sharing of information. And then, you're right. At the end, we're all going to die. Have fun.
Make the best of it, as best as you can.
Well, I appreciate that sentiment. What advice would you give to someone or a family who had just received a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or another form of dementia?
I guess it would depend on what stage of the disease they were in.
Okay.
If they were in the very advanced stages, because I do get patients who come in and they're not even recognizing family members anymore. And that's a terrible situation to be in. And I would tell the families, enjoy the time that you have with your loved one. Just spend time with them. Make them feel safe. Make them feel comfortable. If it was in the earliest stages of the disease, where the patient will just forget a word, but we've proven that they have Alzheimer's, I would tell them to consider treatment options. Consider aggressive treatment options. Either one of the newer medications that's already been FDA approved, or go into a clinical trial as soon as possible.
That's fair. Well, Dr. Justiz, thank you so much for joining us today. And your dedication to science and to your patients and the community is truly inspiring. We appreciate you taking the time, sharing your insights and expertise. And we want to also give many thanks to Michelle Montgomery for working to put this all together for us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. And to our listeners, if you'd like to learn more about Aqualane clinical research or attend one of Dr. Justiz's monthly Alzheimer's lectures, here's some information. The website to Aqualane website is aqualaneresearch.com. That's all in one word. The phone number is 239-529-6780. Their address is 3200 Bailey Lane, Suite 250, Naples, Florida 34105. Or you can email them at info@aqualaneresearch.com. Now, if you'd like to see some of Dr. Justiz's videos, they are on the website. And if you'd like to attend his next lecture in person, it happens on Saturday, October 18th from 10 a to 11 a at the Alzheimer Support Network, which is located at 1421 Pine Ridge Road, Suite 100, Naples, Florida. Dr. Justiz is generous with his time to answer your questions after the talk, and that's pretty cool. And to our listeners, if you'd like to learn more about Aqualane clinical research or attend one of Dr. Justiz's monthly Alzheimer's lectures, here's some information. The website to Aqualane website is aqualaneresearch.com. That's all in one word. The phone number is 239-529-6780. Their address is 3200 Bailey Lane, Suite 250, Naples, Florida 34105. Or you can email them at info@aqualaneresearch.com. Now, if you'd like to see some of Dr. Justiz's videos, they are on the website. And if you'd like to attend his next lecture in person, it happens on Saturday, October 18th from 10 to 11 at the Alzheimer Support Network, which is located at 1421 Pine Ridge Road, Suite 100, Naples, Florida. Dr. Justiz is generous with his time to answer your questions after the talk, and that's pretty cool.
We'll be right back to Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
In the fight against Alzheimer's, now matters more than ever. Because now we have treatments that could change everything. But now is no time to stop. Now we've got momentum, so now we use it. Now we seize the moment. Now we turn the tide. Now we make a difference and make some noise. Now is the time to get up, get out, and join the movement. At the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's, held in over 600 communities nationwide. And we need you with us. Because now is the time for hope. Join the fight at alz.org/walk.
This is Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Just a reminder that the dates for the Alzheimer's Walk of Life in Southwest Florida are Lee County, November 8th, and Collier County, November 22nd. Time is getting short to register. And for around the U.S., you can go to alz.org and click the link that will give you dates and locations for where you can participate. For more information, reach out to the Dubin Center at dubincenter.com. And you can check out the Alzheimer's Support Network at alzsupport.org/about-us. And to find your local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, you can visit or call their toll-free hotline at 1-800-272-3900. And they have a new resource called Dementia Care Navigation Service, powered by Ripple and the Alzheimer's Association. Caregivers and people living with Alzheimer's or another dementia can access personalized dementia care for free, including a dedicated care navigator and tailored resources. You can call this number, 855-271-2662, to get connected. That's 855-271-2662. Take the first step and contact them. You gotta check it out. We mention the guide frequently, and it's another great resource and provides help and respite care. It's probably easier just to Google it, Edge it, or DuckDuckGo it, and you can reach out to Dr. Perry's HealthSpan Partners website, which is https://healthspansouthwestflorida.com. You know, I'd like to thank all those who help and contribute each week to build this podcast, and I couldn't do it without you. Our website is gutpunched.com, and the email address is gutpunchedac@outlook.com, or you can reach me at jeff@gutpunched.com. Thanks for joining us, and please come back again. God bless.
This has been Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, with your host, Jeff Edwards. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to us on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple, Pandora, and more. If you have a question or want to get in touch, our email is gutpunchedac@outlook.com.